Hello guys, welcome to my top 5 best and worst SpongeBob Season 1 episodes. Now I know what you're thinking, Andrew, this is so unoriginal. I've seen lots of lists like these and I've seen people even rank the entire first season along with the rest of the pre-movie era. And this is just old news. Well, after you hear my opinions, they're not gonna be old. So, anyways, the way I'm going to start this list is I'm going to do the top 5 worst, in my opinion, and then the top 5 best, also in my opinion. You know, so that way I don't have to keep going back and forth, switching you guys' moods on what's good and what's bad. And so I can end it off with the best to make the ending of this video happier. Anyways, let's get on to number 5 for the worst. And by the way, there's gonna be a little bit of swearing in this one, because I just really hate some of these. Number 5 is jellyfishing. Okay, this one is not exactly unpopular. A few people kind of agree with me already. I've already seen one person who puts jellyfishing at like number 2 or 1 for the worst of season 1. But in my opinion, this episode is only number 5. And we got a few surprises for the rest of it. But anyways, let me explain it. So in jellyfishing, its opening is just very slow. With SpongeBob and Patrick just trying to get ready for jellyfishing. Like, I get that they're trying to introduce to us the location, but it just doesn't really seem all that necessary, if you ask me. And then they try to get Squidward involved. Squidward says he doesn't want to, and then he goes biking off. And then he starts making fun of SpongeBob and Patrick behind their backs. And apparently that's enough for Squidward to get severely injured, blow up, and go to the hospital? What? He didn't even do much. All he did was say, oh, I don't want to go. He goes off biking and he's like, yeah, those guys are fools. Is that enough for someone to go to the hospital and have to get bandaged up everywhere? Go home in a wheelchair? Absolutely not. And then SpongeBob and Patrick just make it worse, and since they know it's Squidward, it just feels like they're purposely making it worse. And then the episode tries portraying that SpongeBob and Patrick are the bad ones, and that Squidward is the good guy, or the victim, by having SpongeBob and Patrick get zapped by a bunch of jellyfish over and over and over again. So, Squidward's now the victim? I thought he was the villain. Isn't that why he's bandaged up? And then Squidward gets zapped by a mama jellyfish. And it's like, so now Squidward is the bad guy, or what? And then Squidward goes back to the hospital, and now he's even more bandaged up. Really? How can you be even more bandaged up after all that? But that's not the problem. The problem is the ending, which just confuses me even more. So now SpongeBob and Patrick give him the jellyfish that he caught. And then Squidward, of course he's gonna, after everything he went through, of course he's gonna open the jar and let the jellyfish out and sting them. But then it ends with the mama jellyfish coming out of nowhere and zapping Squidward again? For what? Like, why did she do that? She just showed up out of thin air, and then she zaps Squidward for freeing her baby? What? And the baby even got to zap her its captures too. Capturers too. So, why is the mama mad at Squidward? Was that supposed to be a reward because he was no longer bandaged up? Is he still too injured and needs to go to the hospital again to get new bandages? I don't know, it's hard to tell. And people thought The Thing was a bad episode. Unpopular opinion, The Thing is better. I'll explain in another video. Overall, this was a very mediocre and poor introduction to Jellyfish Fields. But we got an even worser introduction later on, and you'll see what I mean in a bit. Number 4, for the worst, is boating school. Oh boy, another bad introduction episode. I mean, I guess season 1, they're gonna have introductions, and the worst are obviously gonna be introduction episodes. But not all of these are introductions, right? Employee of the Month is not an introduction episode. The Chaperone is kind of an introduction episode to Pearl, even though she appeared in Squeaky Boots. So, not every episode's an introduction. But this introduction was... okay, it's not all that bad. Trust me, the next 3 episodes are worse. But here, it's just not all that good compared to the rest. I mean, it's just Mrs. Puff getting introduced, right? And she's introduced as the person who just has to suffer and suffer and suffer from SpongeBob. Yeah, like, don't we already have Squidward for that? And Squidward has more of a reasoning to suffer because he's always grumpy all the time. Mrs. Puff, she's just a victim of SpongeBob. That's it. And an entire episode has SpongeBob cheat to try to get his license, and after everything we deal with Mrs. Puff going to hospital twice, kind of like Squidward in the previous episode I mentioned, that it's just bizarre. Mrs. Puff didn't deserve it, and SpongeBob would have been better off if he just won his license for cheating. Honestly, even though they shouldn't teach a lesson to kids that you should cheat to win, but after everything we get after this episode with Mrs. Puff, and within this episode, I think it'd be better off. And when you have to resort to teaching a bad lesson to kids in order to end your episode well, that's when you know the episode is not well at all. And we got another Puff episode later on this list too, so this is not gonna be good. So now, number 3 is not the episode that I just said. Number 3 is a different one. And it's here at the Tree Dome. Oh boy. Or should I say girl, because this is where we get introduced to the first girl character. Now, I'm not saying girls are bad. In fact, I love Sandy. She's my favorite female Nicktoon character. She's like the Nicktoon queen. With Angelica being like the princess. Bad, of course. But this episode just doesn't introduce Sandy to what I like from her in the show later on. First of all, let's go back to what I said in number 5 about a worser introduction to Jellyfish Fields. But guess what? You thought that was the introduction? No. Tea at the Tree Dome's the introduction, as it opens up with SpongeBob in a field with this one jellyfish. And the jellyfish is not even pink either, it's blue. The first jellyfish is blue, and then they switch it to pink. What? But that's not the important part. The important part is, there's no sign that says Jellyfish Fields, and Frenchie doesn't even explain what SpongeBob's doing, and yet he does later on in other episodes like Jellyfish Jam. So what is SpongeBob doing here? If you watch the show in production order, you're completely confused. If you watch the first airing of this episode, which was along with the other first 2 episodes, which were Help Wanted and Reap Lord, your mind is all wombled up from all this confusion. And then it gets even more confusing when Sandy shows up as she's fighting a clam for no reason. I'm not joking. Once the clam fight was over, they didn't explain anything on why she was biting the clam. They just act like it never happened. Okay? So it's just lazy Sandy fighting a clam for no reason, and SpongeBob jellyfishing, and we don't even know what he's doing at all. Until 3 episodes later, of course, but still. And then the only good part of the episode, or one of the only good parts, shows up, which is Sandy and SpongeBob introducing one another to each other, and Sandy, sparring karate chopping a rock, SpongeBob doing his thing. It's really nice to see that the two have some things in common. But the thing is, this episode forgets that you can't just have characters that have things in common with you and have that be the only thing they have as a character. You gotta give them something different, something that makes them unique. And this episode fails to do that, as it just introduces Sandy to just be like SpongeBob, but as a girl. That's not appealing at all. And we'll get to the rest of her later on, but right now, we have to go and see Patrick, as he goes on to explain air to SpongeBob, which makes sense, because of course SpongeBob's not going to know what air is. He's a sea creature. And, you know, he's just not all that smart to really go ahead and study that kind of stuff, so it makes sense. And when he asks Patrick, like, what makes him think Patrick's gonna know? But whatever. And so Patrick says it's all fancy, right? You gotta hold out your pinky like this, like, what do you mean fancy? It's, okay, I guess, go ahead and believe that. That's not the real problem with the episode. The problem is what they do with it. By having SpongeBob continue torturing himself throughout the whole episode by going there with no water, and Sandy being so oblivious to what's happening. He's dying right in front of her, and she's so stupid in the episode she doesn't even notice anything. It doesn't make any sense. She's supposed to be the smart one, right? That's the only thing that makes her different from the rest of the cast, and she's completely stupid. She's dumber than Patrick in this episode, and Patrick's the one who thinks air is fancy. And then Patrick just goes the whole episode getting SpongeBob to hold up his pinky. Sorry, 20% battery warning. Anyways, to hold up his pinky and to let the air kill him. And it doesn't even introduce anything related to Sandy either, other than the fact that she's apparently stupid, even though we know she's not from other episodes. And then, and also if they wanted to make her stupid, well, okay, I guess that's fine. Except for the fact that it's not, because we already got Patrick, and they even know we got Patrick because they have him in the episode. And then SpongeBob's just being tortured throughout the whole thing, while Sandy's just being so oblivious to everything. And then the episode just ends with SpongeBob and Patrick nearly dying, and Sandy out of nowhere just saves them. Like, literally, she just shows up, she screams, it shows their live action dead bodies, and then it cuts to her saving them with the fish bowls. How did she know that this was what she was supposed to do, yet she didn't even notice that SpongeBob was dying? And the worst part was her final line, or one of her final lines, which was, if y'all need water, you should have asked. Okay, let's rewind 3 minutes before. Can I get you anything? Water would be nice. I'm gonna go put these in a vase. Bitch! He asked for water. And there's nothing that showed why you wouldn't be able to hear him. Oh my god, that just makes you hate Sandy even more. She's not the queen. She seems worse than Angelica from Rugrats with an episode like this. And Angelica's a little bitch. Here, at least Angelica has some brain up in her head. Sandy's just a stupid daughter of a bitch. Okay, if you guys, and yet you guys like that. Okay, you like that? Go ahead, like that. Have your own opinions. Anyways, let me get to number 2.